everybody. It's Alexis.
11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. What a fight! I think Ferraro won it.
Juan, the Hispanic causing panic, Lascano. Smile from Manny Pacquiao. Oh, count
And thanks to those joining me live and those that be joining me on the archive. If you're listening right now on the archive, leave a comment, tell me what you think, and all that good stuff. Shout out to LT saying Apple loves the WBC. Hey, I heard his favorite sanctioning body president is Mauricio Sulaiman. That's what I heard, right? I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying that that's what I heard in the streets, right? And there's a lot of streets in Los Angeles from what I heard, all right? Doesn't mean it's true. I'm just saying, all right? Big shout out to everybody. Let's talk about I have talked about it, but I want to kind of dive in a little further on these two individuals. First of all, Opetia fighting for the Zuffa belt. That's something I haven't specifically talked about because that came out after I even talked about the fight. He's going to fight this dude Gatlin, right? They're going to be fighting for the Zuffa belt. First, I'm glad that Jai Opetia is going to be fighting. And he has, and this is what I want people to understand. I want people to, I'll be doing a video about that soon, pretty soon, right? I just haven't had a chance, right? That card's not tomorrow, is it? If it's not tomorrow, I should be able to talk about that. But I do think Navarrete should win that fight. Although every time I finally pick Navarrete, he ends up losing. But usually when I go against him, he wins. Navarrete is a very unorthodox fighter. The dude throws punches with both feet off the canvas and somehow lands uppercuts and he just does some crazy shit in there that he shouldn't be doing, but he gets away with it. And I think he should be able to win that fight. That's my official prediction. All right. Nunes is a hell of a fighter, but that's what I think. Jai Opetia fighting for the Zuffa belt. First of all, I'm glad that he's going to have a dedicated promoter to keep him busy, to keep him active, because Matchroom just wasn't, living up to it, right? Matchroom basically wasn't getting anything for Jai unless they wanted Jai, I guess, unless Turkey was footing the bill. And if Turkey wasn't footing the bill, it was just kind of forced. And just kind of threw him in there with whoever on some obscure card somewhere in Australia. But I just think this is the right move. Look, Glatton, is that how you pronounce it? He is he's not like a chump or nothing like that. And people are acting like this guy's a nobody. And he's solid. Jai should win this fight. It's going to keep him busy. He's going to be fighting. Here are the good, before I get to, because I have some criticisms here, okay? Right? Here are some things I want to say. And check it out. The Loser Brigade showed up. You know what I mean? Shout out to them. But Jai Opetia is going to be active. That's good. They're still going to work with Riyadh season, meaning that he's still going to get those big fights, those big paydays, possible unifications. There's a lot of money behind Riyadh season, so he's still going to be able to get some money out of that. Like he's still going to be in the mix, right? Regardless of how you feel about Zuffa, it appears anyway that the Zuffa fights are going to keep him busy, right? It's going to be in front of a huge audience with Paramount. And then staying busy with that, he's going to be able to still be part of Riyadh season. All positives. And I said that the last time I talked, right? I'm not sure how to feel about this Zuffa belt, though. Look, he's the IBF champion. I understand that Dana said he doesn't want to work with these, he doesn't want to recognize them or whatever. He also said he'll allow Jai to unify, and that'll probably happen under the ring and the Riyadh season cards. To be the ring cards, to be more specific, the ones ran by Turki Al-Sheikh. Although there's involvement with Turki Al-Sheikh with Zuffa, you know what I mean. The ring cards, right? And I personally, all good, but this Zuffa belt, what are we doing? I just don't. What do you mean you're going to be fighting for the Zuffa belt? Like, I honestly thought they're going to wait on this, give it some time, right? But I guess the plan is, and Dana White kind of alluded to this, I just don't know if this is going to work, right? So the plan is we're going to get fighters that are world champions, right? They are the best in the division. We're going to basically buy them out, sign them to Zuffa. They will fight or be given a Zuffa belt. And in doing so, they will now be the world champion, the best in the division. And that's how they want to establish the Zuffa champions as the champions of the division. There are many problems with that. Many, right? One, you're not established yet. No one, including me, is really recognizing the Zuffa belt as a world title. This is coming from someone who's not a big fan of the sanctioning bodies, right? Jai's already the best in the division, but just putting a belt on him and saying this is a world title doesn't necessarily, it's not going to just make the Zuffa belt an official world title belt. You have to work further with that. Like, there has to be a longer process with that. Like, I honestly thought they were going to wait, number one. Second, I thought that there would be a process with this where you would maybe have Zuffa champions, but not necessarily try to put it equal footing with world champions, and wait for days when a Zuffa champion upsets or beats a reigning world champion, and that helps like solidify your belt. You may say, well, that's what they're doing here, but they're really not doing that, right? They think, well, we bring the legit champion over here and give him a Zuffa belt. Well, that automatically makes him the man of the division. One, I think he's already the man of the division, regardless of what belt he has. But that doesn't, like, Jai being the man of the division doesn't make your belt the belt of the division. That just isn't how it works. You need to establish yourself first, and it's just too rushed, right? And this isn't the right fight to crown a Zuffa champion. What if Glanton wins? What a disaster would that be? Although I don't think that's likely, but it's boxing. Anything could happen. You know that's not your plan. You would think, well, they establish themselves more, do more shows, once you're actually in arenas, once people are taking your shows a little more serious. Like, I'm enjoying the boxing so far. I am taking it for what it is. I think it's like a throwback to a Friday night fights, Tuesday night fights, good fights. You should have continued that run for now. But now you're jumping this hoop and you're like, oh no, we're going to crown him Zuffa champion. And you think that somehow that's going to transfer over. And what? You think every weight class, now the Zuffa champion is the champion? Just like that? And we know things aren't exactly going to go to plan because Vajdik, as Jesus M. in the chat pointed out, has already lost. And even if he did win, what are we going to do? Make him the Zuffa champion and say that's the best in the division when with our own eyes we've seen Benavidez and Beterbiev beat him? Well, we know as of to the 2026, he's not like a top 5, light heavyweight in the world. So, like, what exactly are you trying to accomplish here? If Rayo Valenzuela becomes your lightweight champion, do you really believe that that means he's the man of the division just because Jai Opetia is also a Zuffa champion? No. I don't have an issue with them. Hey, we're going to make Jai Opetia the Zuffa champion, right? But as of right now, you need to just operate like you're not an official world title because you're not. You haven't had enough fights to establish a world champion. You haven't had your ratings haven't even gone through a process. You haven't had enough contenders fight for the belt. You haven't established anything at all. You need to have several fights, and the first thing the Zuffa champion needs to become, right? The very first thing a Zuffa champion needs to become is the best in Zuffa first, right? First establish that. And once you have the best in Zuffa, right? And you need to just try to earn credibility by one, having that Zuffa champion be active, having that Zuffa champion defend that title, and then over time, eventually, have that Zuffa champion fight one of the recognized world champions, and one Zuffa champion start competing and beating reigning world champions, whether people like it or not. Now Zuffa will start. The Zuffa champion will start to become more recognized. That's just my opinion on it. To me, this was like a 2-3 year project. You cannot just slap a belt on Jai and say, "Hey, we got the best cruiserweight in the world. He's a Zuffa champion, so therefore every Zuffa champion in every weight class that we operate in is the man of the division." It does not work that way. If Boachuk becomes your middleweight champion, that's great, but he's just the best in Zuffa. He's just the best under your umbrella. That's it. Your umbrella isn't big enough, and it does not have the best fighters in the world overall. It just doesn't. Like, I'm sorry to tell you. It's not even appropriate to call it a world championship. Just call it the Zuffa belt. It's the best in our organization. That's all it should mean right now. That's just my opinion. And I say this as a huge fan of Jai. I say this as someone who recognizes him as the best cruiserweight in the world. He'll be the best cruiserweight in the world that happens to have the Zuffa belt. The Zuffa belt is not the belt for every weight class. You don't have the talent to even do that. You would need to literally monopolize a sport, which I get is your ultimate goal, but you're nowhere near that right now. So that's just how I feel. I don't even think they should have brought out the Zuffa belt. I think they should have first just don't. Why even put this out there? Just have Jai Opetia debut. Have him have a great performance, and then you can have him, fight in a ring card later and do his thing, maybe unify a belt, or something like that. Like, I think that's what needs to happen. I mean, I don't know how much investing they have in this. I know there's a lot of money invested in Zuffa, and maybe I'm underestimating it, even though I'm giving them a lot of credit, but I mean, what are you going to do? Sign every unified and undisputed champion and then have them drop all their belts? They're now the Zuffa champion, and then you're in charge of all those fighters? Are you like, they don't have, like, that's not happening right now. It could happen down the line, right? But Rome wasn't built in a day. For those that don't know the history of Rome, Rome started right in the city of Rome, a little ass colony. They had to first conquer Italy, which took decades. After they conquered Italy, they started to conquer the surrounding areas, right? A century later, they ruled over the entire, Mediterranean. Now, I'm not saying, it's going to take a century. What I'm saying is, you're just a little colony right now, and you haven't even conquered Italy yet. And you're acting like you're the rulers of the world. Like, you need to take your time here. Like, if I'm honest, it's leaving a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth that they're doing this Zuffa belt thing right now. It just is. So you're going to have them with the Zuffa belt, and okay, I get it. It's one thing to not want to show the IBF belt. That's one thing. But to now you're going to have them you're going to give them the Zuffa belt. Oh, this means the Zuffa champion is the champion. That's just not the way it works. So that's just the way I see it. Remy, are fighters going for undisputed with 5 belts now? I just don't think Zuffa is going to operate that way. It's just not going to happen. As of right now, the fact that they're going to, quote unquote, allow Jai to unify the belts to try to become undisputed, right? I think what they should have done is, look, we're going to get behind Jai. This is what they should have done. We're going to get behind Jai. We're going to recognize his belt or whatever. We're not going to have him like it's whatever to us on the Zuffa cards to keep him busy, right? When he goes with Turk Al-Sheikh in the ring, he'll be the IBF champion and he could unify with all these belts and they could work with that, right? But the plan should have been, we need to establish an undisputed champion, right? We need to establish an undisputed champion. In this case, let's say Jai. And then, once he has all the belts, once everyone sees, hey, this is the undisputed champion of the world, then you drop the belts. They say, we're no longer recognizing the belts. Jai is the lineal cruiserweight champion of the world, right? He has the ring belt, and that he's a Zuffa champion. That means he's the man of the division. If you want to be the best cruiserweight in the world, you need to be Jai Opetia. I think that would make more sense, personally. You would think you would want to create lineal champions, and you take over the lineage of the world recognized world lineal champion. You would think that's what they would want to do if supposedly you just want one belt and you want the Zuffa belt to mean more. But it takes even more than that. You need more talent. You need the best talent in the world. So if you're serious about, when someone holds a Zuffa belt, it's going to mean he's the man of the division. Well, it's going to take more work than what I've seen. I know they've only done 2 shows. They're going on a 3rd show. I get it. Jai will be the 4th show. There's more to it, but that's my point. All right? Other than that, I'm looking forward to it. We'll see how people respond to it. I ain't a fan of that, to be honest with you. I'm just going to be 100% honest. All right? Let's talk about TIm Tszyu. Thanks for that super chat, Remy. Lance Mayer says, D-style boxing. Jai already has a belt, says Jesus M. I get that. I get it. LT says Zuffa needs to buy Golden Boy, PBC, and Top Rank. I just don't think they got to buy them. I just think they just need their talent. That's it. That's how Turkey took over. Like all he did was offer better offers to their fighters. They allowed it to happen because they were getting a cut out of it, right? Eventually, the fighters, fought out of their contract, and now like they have all this leverage over these guys because everything's being done through the ring. Golden Boy, they're no longer in the zone. Top Rank doesn't have a deal anymore. Like, because all the best fights are going with Turki Al-Sheikh and Riyadh season. So I don't know where Zuffa comes in here, but I mean, you're still fighting in the apex, bro. Like you're still, you have, good fighters, but you don't have the best fighters overall. Like you just don't. Jai is the only guy I could say is the best in his weight class that you have. That's it. So I have no idea why they're trying to establish Zuffa as the belt right now. Makes no sense. If they want to have Zuffa champions, that means you're the best in the, in this league. That's fine. But they are nowhere near establishing it as a legitimate world championship. I'm not recognizing the Zuffa champions as world champions. Not because they're not part of the big four, because the other ones don't recognize them. Not because of that, but because logically speaking, you do not have the best fighters in every weight class. Once we can reasonably look at the fighters in Zuffa who have the belt and say they are the best fighters in boxing, it's not going to matter who's recognizing or not recognizing. We will know that. But that's not where we are right now. With that said, TIm Tszyu, Errol Spence. I like this fight. I talked about that the other day, but the reason I'm doing this video because I was watching some people talk about the fight, and they have a lot of critical things to say about it. And the thing is that I don't disagree with the criticisms, really, right? So I'm hearing, TIm Tszyu is going to be fighting an inactive Errol Spence. Well, I mean, that's true. He's been inactive. It's like 2.5 years since Errol Spence has fought, right? That is a long time, like 30 plus months or whatever it is. Inactive is some serious inactivity, right? And that's something we need to take serious, right? I think last July would have been 24 months. That's how long it's been that Errol Spence has not fought. We are now in the middle of February. By the time he fights in June, it's going to be almost 3 years out of the ring. Totally fair to point out. I heard some people say that Errol is his first time fighting a welterweight. Why is TIm Tszyu fighting a little dude? Well, while it's true that it's the first time fighting at super middleweight, at least at this level. I mean, I don't know. I haven't looked at the very beginning of I haven't pulled it up, but I get that he's been a career welterweight, right? All his championship fights at welterweight, but moving one weight class up is not that big of a deal, especially in this era with all these weight classes where guys move up 3, 4, 5 weight classes all the time. So moving one extra weight class, I just don't think that is a legitimate critique to throw at TIm Tszyu, who are fighting a quote unquote welterweight. Also, Spence clearly outgrew the weight class. He looked trained as shit in that in the last few weigh-ins actually. Skinny to the bone. I mean, he looked sunk in, and you can make an argument that this is going to be a better weight class for him. He'll be healthier at this weight. He won't have to cut as much weight. And we've seen scenarios where guys get stronger, better, when they no longer have to be cutting all that weight. So I don't think one weight class up for a guy that people say was a pound for pound fighter is that big of a deal. Another thing, he took a beating in the last fight. True, he did, right? Not disagreeing with that. Terence Crawford beat the hell out of Errol Spence. I didn't give Errol Spence one round. He got dropped several times. They stopped the fight. One-sided affair. Got beat up, but all true. And we do have questions about, what's the state of Errol Spence now? Right? But I need to remind you guys that that was done by Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford delivered that beating to Errol Spence. Terrence Crawford this is the same Terrence Crawford that moved up and beat the undisputed super middleweight champion Canelo Alvarez at super middleweight. So while I get it all true and valid, let's not forget the fact that the one that delivered the beating to Errol Spence was Terrence Crawford. Like, let's not forget that. Another thing, maybe not this long, but Errol Spence has always been inactive. Errol Spence was fighting every 15 months, right? Now, this is going to be longer than double the time, but still, it's not like Errol went from fighting every 4 or 5 months or every 6 months to now he has this long layoff. No, Errol Spence has been a very inactive fighter throughout his whole career, especially during his championship run. He was fighting again over once a year already, every 15 months. So it's not that far away from what we're used to seeing from Errol Spence. Lastly, in agreeing with all that, I think it's not crazy to say, hey, I don't think Errol Spence is the same anymore. Who is the same after a beating like that, right? It is fair to say he's been very inactive, regardless of how inactive he's been before, because he's kind of doubling his average inactivity this time. I get it, right? It is fair to point that out. It is fair to say it's his first fight at 154, right? That one is the weakest of all of them, because I think Errol will fit very well. I think this will be a good weight class for him. But there is some X factors here, right? Shout out to Remy, says, I'm guilty of bringing up PTSD Tszyu. Not funny, but it seems better now that we have Spence out of the ring for that long. I get it. But one of the reasons I like to fight is TIm Tszyu is, coming off some beating himself. More recent beatings. It's not like TIm Tszyu has been on this, it's not like TIm Tszyu is the reigning junior middleweight champion of the world, right? Or who knows if this fight's I'll say this. If the fight's at middleweight, that's because Errol Spence wants it at middleweight. I'll say that, right? But it's not like TIm Tszyu is, completely undefeated and just the reigning world champion, and then he wants to fight this guy coming off a layoff, right? If you remember, a couple of months ago, I was criticizing the manager of Virgil Ortiz because they instead of trying to he was saying, instead of Boots, we'll rather do a fight with Errol Spence. Well, that was ridiculous, right? I mean, I thought okay, well, what are we doing? You want to fight Errol Spence, who's been out of the ring and all that? All those things are true. All of them. The thing is that it's appropriate for a TIm Tszyu who is working his way back up to fight Errol Spence right now. If this is the type of fight TIm Tszyu should be in. This is it. TIm Tszyu he needs to climb back up the ladder. TIm Tszyu has not earned, number one. He hasn't deserved nor earned a world title shot. He hasn't shown since he last lost to Fundora that he should be fighting the top dogs at the moment. He fought some top dogs. He came up short. Now he needs to work his way back up. And on the way back up, after that Velasquez or whatever his name is, after that win, well, someone who, like an Errol Spence, who's been inactive. Last time we saw him, he got beat up by Terrence Crawford. But he's also a name. Well, it makes all the sense in the world to get in the ring with an Errol Spence. These are two fighters that people have a lot of questions about. What are the questions about TIm Tszyu? Well, the questions about TIm Tszyu is TIm Tszyu ever going to reach the mountaintop? Does TIm Tszyu belong with the elites? Does TIm Tszyu have what it takes to fight at the world stage? Right? Those are the questions people are asking. There's questions for Errol Spence as well. Is Errol Spence like what? Like how much does he have left after being out of the sport for so long? After the beating he took at the hands of Terrence Crawford, is he a shot fighter? Is he not? We don't know. We're not going to know until he's back in the ring and he fights somebody. Well, Errol Spence shouldn't come back and fight one of the top dogs after all that. Errol Spence shouldn't come back and fight for a world title right now. Errol Spence should be thrown in the ring with a Virgil Ortiz right now. So a guy like TIm Tszyu, people have questions whether or not he even belongs at the elite level. Well, that's a perfect guy to throw Errol Spence. It's a stepping stone to see if he's going to go to the next step, to the next level. For each guy, a win here, right, will propel them to a higher step, right? So here are the scenarios. If TIm Tszyu beats Errol Spence, are people going to say, oh, but Errol wasn't the same anymore? Man, after what I saw, Errol should have stayed, retired. That fight did nothing to me. Whatever the case is, right? Whatever the case is. But it's going to be a win. It's going to be a back-to-back win. Regardless of how much Errol Spence has left, it's definitely a better win than Tim's last win. It is a step above, right? It's a better win than Joey Spencer, for example. I would favor Errol Spence right now to beat Joey Spencer. I would favor Errol Spence to beat that Velasquez kid, right? So it's a step up. It's a step up. Does it mean that TIm Tszyu's back and he's on top of the world again? No. But it's a step to the right direction, right? Like that's what it is. Now the winner gets to step up, whatever that next step up is, right? So that's what will happen, right? People will now say, hey, all right, your back-to-back wins. Your next fight should be a better opponent, right? If Errol Spence wins, then people are going to say, of course, they're going to say, yeah, he beat Tim, but I mean, Tim is just a overrated Australian fighter that never measured up at the elite level, right? That's what they're going to say, right? Yeah, Spence won. I don't know if he's back, though. I mean, he beat TIm Tszyu. TIm Tszyu couldn't even beat him after that long layoff. That's what they're going to say, right? However, who else do you expect him to come back against? Who is Errol Spence supposed to fight after being off for so long, coming off a loss like that, right? This is a perfect matchup for both guys. This is who each guy, like the type of guy each guy should be fighting right now. For TIm Tszyu, one, it's a name, a former unified champion, his only loss against Terrence Crawford, right? And obviously, if Errol's taking that fight, Errol believes he could win that fight. And I don't care what you think you know. We really don't know what Errol Spence got left. If Errol Spence is 75% of what he was before the Crawford fight, that's not an easy night for TIm Tszyu. That jab of Errol Spence will be a lot of problems for TIm Tszyu, who's just trying to, right now, he's in the middle working with a new trainer. He's working in the system, right? And he got criticized for not getting the knockout in the last fight because he's trying to learn a new process with a new trainer, right? Errol Spence, a veteran, former unified champion. What does he have left? We don't know. However, he'll be able to try to use TIm Tszyu as a way to show everybody, hey guys, I'm back. Oh, but so what? You beat TIm Tszyu, right? But then the thing's going to be, oh, yeah, I know, but I'm back. I got the rust off. There you go. I beat TIm Tszyu. I'm ready for the next step up. The same thing with TIm Tszyu. All right. I got knocked down a peg, several pegs. People were wondering if my career was over. New trainer, new management, new team. I'm now 2-0, back-to-back wins. I got this name. I beat a unified champion. You guys are saying he was done. He was washed up. Okay, well, what's the next step? It's a fight that makes sense for both guys. All the criticisms about Spence as an opponent are all true. But that's the type of guy TIm Tszyu should be fighting right now. Not to mention the X factor of we don't know how much Errol Spence has left. We're just guessing. That's it. He could go in there, look totally washed and shot, and TIm Tszyu stops him in a couple of rounds. And, of course, we're going to look at that and be like, man, Errol Spence should have stayed retired. Right? But if he has some left, he could be a problem for TIm Tszyu. He can apply pressure. Like if he has some left, Errol Spence can apply some serious pressure on TIm Tszyu. And if he has something left and TIm Tszyu happens to win, it's a great opening to a fight with Virgil Ortiz. Right? And similar styles. They started in the same ring, in the same gym, I'm sorry. I don't think he would be Virgil, but at least he'll have that look against an Errol Spence. So, all valid criticisms, I just think you guys are missing the plot here. Tim shouldn't be fighting a top guy right now. That's not what TIm Tszyu should be fighting right now. The Velasquez fight made all the sense in the world. His team put him in there with an adequate opponent. A guy who was undefeated and was somewhat of a puncher, at least on paper. And TIm Tszyu had to answer some questions. Let's see how he looks. And he did what he did. He looked how he looked. And now we got to get a new look, right? And I think this Errol Spence fight makes all the sense in the world, right? It just is what it is. So there's a lot of questions about both guys. It's a crossroads fight. It makes all the sense in the world. So that's how I feel about it. All right? Before you say whatever you want to say. Perfect opponent for each dude. Make sure you hit the like button before I go. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Those are my thoughts. We'll leave it at that. A shout out to LT, Remy, Lance Mayer, all you dudes. I appreciate you tuning in. This is D-Style, and I'm out of here. Peace.